everybody, and welcome to the County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. Once again, it is our privilege and honor to discuss issues of the day with the governor of the state of Utah, Governor Gary Herbert. He's been a good friend and supporter of our show and the state and the citizens of Utah. Governor, it's so good to spend some time with you again.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, Chad, and I'm a big fan of the county seat. As a former county commissioner, I understand some of the unique challenges our counties face.
Very good. Well, I hope the county commissioners are listening to that. There have been a lot of things going on, and as we were coming up to this conversation today, I was trying to think about what the number one issue was, and I think the biggest issue, headline issue, for the entire year has been forest fires. And it's been an issue you've been very passionate and outspoken about. Give us an update.
Well, we've had a lot of them, and nearly 900 forest fires in some form or fashion, fires throughout the state of Utah this past season. Over half of them man-caused. You know, just some foolishness here, some mistakes made there, and we have a lot of forest fires. We've been really fortunate in what we have not lost in structures. We had a Harriman fire where we lost a few homes, but the 120,000 acre fire in southern Utah County, we really dodged a bullet there, and really no structures lost, no lives lost, and really almost miracle in its being able to address that. That being said, we've got to start addressing in a very serious way the health of our forests because they're not healthy. We are not able to spray for the bark beetle. We have a lot of deadfalls. We have a lot of underbrush and growth. That's part of the problem with the management of the fire in southern Utah County. They finally got a lightning strike. They had a fire going. They saw an opportunity to clean up some of the undergrowth and the deadfall. And then a wind comes up, and next thing you know, it's out of control, and we burn 120,000 acres of land and forest. So we can do better, and we should do better, and we can do better.
So in doing that, what are the challenges in making forest management work? Because you know, we have so many restrictions on forest lands from the U.S. Forest Service, and even some restrictions that they can't get around. They got cornered on the original bark beetle infestation on Cedar Mountain, and they couldn't get around it. So what are some of the challenges that you see are the big challenges?
Well, clearly we need to give regulations that are common sense, that allow those experts that are tasked with managing the forest to do it to its optimal benefit, to make it healthy. Again, that helps us not only have healthy forests and trees, but protects our watershed. It helps us with air quality issues for our animals out there, you know, the flora and fauna. I mean, all those come together with having a healthy environment for the forests. So we're proposing, in fact, with the roadless rule that's been put in place, well intended as it may have been, we find the unintended consequences is the lack of flexibility, the lack of being able to manage the forest to their optimal benefit. We can't, you know, thin out the trees. Certain calipers are excluded from being able to being taken down. Not being able to get in there and take out and scarf the underbrush. Not able to have any kind of prescribed burns. Not being able to take any kind of mechanized equipment in there. So there needs to be more flexibility given to those who are tasked with managing the forest. If we'll do that, it's win-win-win for everybody. It's win for the forest, it's win for our environment, our watersheds, it's a win for us that want to go out and recreate in the great outdoors. It's good for the forest, for the ranchers and the farmers. It's something we need to do. And by the way, it's already been done in Colorado and Idaho. So we're going to work with the Department of Interior and our forests and our Department of Agriculture to see if we can't find ways to better manage these forests and modify, uniquely so to Utah, the roadless rule.
Do you think it's ironic in a way that the 5 things you said have been compromised by the fires are the very, and our inability to handle them in the roadless rule are the very 5 qualities that the roadless rule said it was trying to protect?
Well, I don't think any of us should be surprised that good intentions sometimes go awry. The intentions are good, but sometimes the unintended consequence is something we have not expected. We've had a chance to try it. We see where we need to make some modifications and improvement and give the flexibility to those who are tasked with managing, the experts. You wouldn't want to tie a farmer's hands. He's going out there to try to grow his crops. Say, well, you can't irrigate here, you can't fertilize there, and you can't pull the weeds here. You would probably not get as good a yield if you put those kind of restrictions on a farmer. Well, the same thing's true with us as we, in fact, tend to the forest. Man is in charge. We ought to do a better job. We ought to be good stewards of the earth, and I think we try to do that. We just see a need for improvement here.
Excellent. One of the other things that has been a big headline and a consistent headline throughout since the last time you and I talked is the opioid dilemma. It has surfaced. It has started a lot of movements. It started a lot of lawsuits. The counties have, gotten involved legally in it. I would like your take on the dilemma and where Utah should chart its course and where we stand.
Well, it is a crisis, and certainly an epidemic proportion with the opioid addiction and death that's caused by opioid addiction and overdose. We brought it to the forefront with the National Governors Association when I was the chairman, and we saw it happening throughout the country. Since about 2011, we've seen a systematic increase in the abuse and use of opioids. We've tried to make it more people more cognizant, more aware of the challenges, not only the public, but doctors. It appears that those who produce the opioids have probably withheld information about its addictive qualities. We've tried to emphasize to the doctors, opioids as a painkiller ought to be a last resort thing, not a first resort thing. We've worked with our pharmacists to label our prescription bottles now that say, this is addictive, this could be hazardous to your health. So there's a warning label on it. We have opportunities with the Utah Medical Association, again, for awareness campaigns for doctors and patients. And the good news for us is that although there's been an increase since 2011, in Utah this last year we've seen a significant decrease. With heroin use, we've had a decrease of about 14%. In heroin deaths, that's a major stride. When other parts of the country it's going up, ours is going down. We've found with opioid addiction, we've had a reduction of 16%. Again, better awareness, better education, better training, and Naxalon, again, being available to help reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. So I feel good about the trend. We're not where we want to be, but we're on the right road, going in the right direction.
One of the big components of that is when people find themselves at the end of their rope and they end up in a drug court, is getting the right kind of treatment and help and mental health help. And that's kind of tied to Medicaid. It's been significantly tied. That has become yet another issue.
Well, it's certainly amazing how many things are related. And certainly the Medicaid issue and being able to put more money. We've been at the forefront as a state with our judiciary and having drug courts and mental health courts. Rather than just warehouse people, if they have a problem, see if we can't fix the problem. If they have an addiction, let's see what we can do to get them off the addiction, make them to become productive members of society. Same with those who have mental health problems. Rather than just lock them up, let's see if we can't get them treatment, maybe some medication to help them with those mental health issues and make them productive members of society. So that's our first goal, and to rehab the people. That's working, I think, very well. And again, our Medicaid expansion, which is a significant issue. I'm disappointed that a few years ago when I presented the Healthy Utah approach, which allowed us to draw back the monies that we're sending to Washington, D.C. to be utilized with an expanded health care program, I think would have served us well. It had a work requirement. It had a capitation upon how much could be spent. But that didn't happen, so we're working now with a new waiver approach to the federal government. I think most of those waivers are going to be approved, but they want the legislature to meet and pass a resolution on that first. That means we probably have to do that next session. In the meantime, we have the initiative out there, which has a significant tax increase and no capping of the cost, and that could be a significant bite in our budget. It already is about 19% of our budget for Medicaid now. With Medicaid expansion, it could go to probably 28%. And maybe into the 35% over the next 5 or 6 years. That is a significant budget hole buster in our budget as we go forward. So that's got to be a real concern for us from the fiscal aspects of our budget.
If you were to make an encouragement to people, would you think that the initiative is not the right way to deal with this issue? Because a lot of people haven't voted yet.
Well, I'm not going to vote for it because I think it's fiscally irresponsible. I think there's better ways to do it. The Healthy Utah approach, the waiver approach we've got on the table right now is a better approach. It will, in fact, expand health care access to many, many people, 100,000 or so of those who are on the low end of the economic scale. So that's what we're trying to do, is make sure those who need it the most will have access to health care. And so without breaking the budget, and I think there's a better option. That being said, I understand frustration of people because we haven't got anything done other than a very minimal approach, and we're actually paying significant taxes revenue to do it. I just think we need to kind of come together. If I was king for a day, and I'm not, but if I was king for a day, what Washington should do is to block grant the monies to each respective state. That way they can have whatever kind of program they think works best for their unique demographics, their unique politics. Everybody's treated the same. It will give, for the first time, a number that Congress can budget to. Wouldn't it be nice if they actually budgeted to a number and actually put out a balanced budget? Something assembling and going to a balanced budget. It gives the states a number to balance to. You block grant it, no state would be advantaged, no state would be disadvantaged. But you'd have the flexibility to come up with your own health care, Medicaid expansion program that will fit your unique circumstances. That's probably the best solution there is out there for the Medicaid issue. I would hope that Congress could see the wisdom of that, and this administration, Trump-Pence, would push for something like a block grant approach. Excellent.
Well, this is a good place to take a break. You've got to make a phone call, and we've got a couple of commercials to run. We'll be right back with the county seat in just a minute.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls? Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River? No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Utah has a national treasure where winding canyons stretch to the horizon, where nature forms elegant structures, and where iconic monuments of the West stand tall. Visitors around the world come to get a glimpse of southern Utah's legendary landscape and landmarks. Join them and explore San Juan County, Utah's Canyon Country.
This is what adventure looks like, and here's what it sounds like. Southwest Utah's Iron County offers some of the most iconic trails within the state that include 200 miles of new trails to be discovered. Check out ironcounty.net for info and interactive maps for your complete guide to off-roading. Explore countless miles of trails in the heart of Dixie National Forest, the gateway to Utah National Parks, Iron County.
What is the future of rural Utah? That is a question I'm asked all the time as the Republican candidate for House District 73. In a government that values the consent of the governed, those answers should come from rural Utah. I've learned more about those issues than I can share with you in 30 seconds. So I invite you to find out where I stand on grazing, roads, jobs, water, and schools on my website, lymanforutah.com. I've paid for this ad so that you can be an informed voter on Election Day. I'm Phil Lyman, Republican for District 73, and I approve this ad.
There are meetings, and then there are gatherings. At the Davis Conference Center, we know the difference. Turn your event into something more than just another business summit. With over 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting space, state-of-the-art presentation amenities, and inspiring architecture, the Davis Conference Center is designed to deliver stellar results in a majestic setting. Take your convention to the next level. Schedule now at davisconferencecenter.com.
Welcome back to the county seat, talking with Governor Gary Herbert on a whole list of issues. One of the ones that has been very concerning to, and has been for years, to particularly the rural counties, is the situation of jail funding. It seems that they're caught in a trap every year of having to come up with their handout, asking the legislature to try and fund the cost of prisoners that they keep on behalf of the state in the jails. Is there any end to this problem, or?
It's hat in hand asking, please, kind sir.
Yeah.
It's like Groundhog Day. When I was a county commissioner back in the early 90s, we came up here and argued on behalf of jail reimbursement. Later jail contracting. They've kind of been combined, but they're two different issues. As the governor, have always put in the full amount in the budget. Sometimes the legislature does not fund it all. They appropriate but don't fund, and the authorization is there. We're funding probably right now about 83% of the rate that we give on jail contracting and on jail reimbursement. It's probably around $14 million, if my memory serves me correctly. I expect it'll be more next year. The need for us to, as a state, have collaboration and cooperation with the counties. We contract when we need extra bed space, and that's worked out, I think, pretty well most of the time. There's been some glitches along that line with some of our counties, but also jail reimbursement, which is where a court imposes a state prisoner into a county jail. And that should be, in fact, the cost of that should be, I think, defrayed by the state. That's been an ongoing battle. That being the case, we're doing more now than ever before. So the trend is good. Whether we can ever get to 100%, I guess, remains to be seen. But I think you'll see us put in the budget again coming up. We're cognizant of the issue. We support the counties in this to be 100% reimbursed, and we'll try to do what we can to make that happen with the legislature.
Is there a way that the legislature, I mean, it's going to be up to them. They have to create the legislation to do it.
They spend every dollar. I recommend, but they make the final decision. And, you know, some of it's a lack of awareness. Somebody's got to champion the cause. The Association of Counties and the commissioners need to be up here, along with the sheriff, saying, you know, it's not fair for you to balance your state budget on the backs of the county budget. And somewhat that happens with jail reimbursement, because they have no choice on that one. Jail contracting is a negotiated thing, and so it's probably not as big of an issue. But again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I know you'd like to have ongoing funding, so you have to come up hat in hand every year. We have ongoing funding and one-time money combined to make the $14 million. I'd love to have it all ongoing money, so you'd have to worry about it in the next appropriation.
Excellent. Well, that's a very good answer. Let's shift our topics to rural. You set out a rural jobs initiative last year, and it made a big rollout on it, and you were going to get 25,000 jobs in 25 counties. How are we doing?
Well, we're actually ahead of the pace. We wanted to have 25,000 jobs by the end of 2020. We have just under 9,000 now since we've started, so we're slightly ahead of pace. It's an ongoing challenge, and it's not just unique to Utah, it's unique to the entire rural setting here throughout America. More and more of the economic growth and development is taking place in urbanized areas, probably for a variety of reasons. What we've done is we've met with virtually every county of the 25 off the Wasatch Front and said, this can't be a top-down, we're going to tell you what to do from Salt Lake City and the capital. You've got to decide what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what is your pathway forward. This needs to be bottom-up, and let the state be your partner. Let us help you in whatever quest you have. And it's unique, you know, the one size doesn't fit all. And we've had good conversation with the economic development directors. We've certainly had a World Trade Center tour that we had the lieutenant governor go around to the different counties and to kind of do an assessment. Our GOED office, economic development, some of our grant programs designed to help stimulate and be a catalyst for economic development and growth. But it's got to come bottom up. There's disruption in the marketplace. We have all the time. We want to protect the family farm and the family ranch. I understand the passion, but with increasing yields, our family farm up in Idaho, which we still have, used to employ a lot more people than it employs today, even though we've got more acreage. More spuds we're planting up there in Idaho, but we're employing fewer people. That's kind of the dynamic and the change that's happened in the marketplace when it comes to farming and ranching. So we've got to reinvent ourselves. What do we have as strengths? What can we propose? How do we develop more entrepreneurs and see if we can grow businesses inside our counties in the rural parts of the state? Or how are we doing on education? Clearly, the skill alignment in what is now a global marketplace, we need to make sure that our graduation rates from high school and on to college are as high in the rural areas as they are in the urbanized areas, or else our kids are going to be shortchanged on their ability to find a good job. Get a good education, get a good job. It's that simple. So we're attacking this on many fronts. We certainly want to be partners. We want to, in fact, have the local governments, the local counties tell us what do we need and how can we help you, but you develop your own plan.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come up with some final thoughts with the governor. We'll put our focus on all these ballot initiatives when we come back. We'll be right back.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
For 7 years, Utah's Community Voice has been the county seat, a program that looks beyond politics to spotlight the issues and stories that really matter to you and your community. Now you can help set Utah's agenda for the future by joining the conversation. Become a county seat sponsor and help support those conversations that are critical to the future of state government. Contact us at 801-947-8888 to make your contribution to help the voice of Utah be heard like never before.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
The Utah Farm Bureau began as a collection of farmers supporting each other to raise the food we enjoy. Today, Farm Bureau membership encompasses everyone, whether ranchers, growers, or just everyday folks like you and me. Members enjoy discounts on items like vehicles and ATVs, or insurance that's very affordable. You don't have to be a farmer to join, and dues are small, but together we make a big difference in keeping our food supply local and abundant. Join Utah Farm Bureau.
For the last 4 years, Bruce Cutler has fought for Murray, Midvale, and Sandy. As an 8-year veteran of the Murray School Board, he understands the impact the state can have on local education. With a career background in technology and software, he has helped make it easier to get online with the state and is a champion of the homeless. Find out more at electbrucecutler.org.
I'm Bruce Cutler, and I ask for your support to continue to serve Murray, Midvale, and Sandy as your state legislator. Oh, and by the way, I approved this ad.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
Welcome back to the county seat, talking to Governor Gary Herbert from the Gold Room at the state capitol. As you see, it's not the normal county seat digs. Governor, we have 4 ballot initiatives, on a question and 3 initiatives on the ballot. We've touched on one, but let's talk about the others. We've got a gas tax, which is kind of an education tax, which has got particularly the rural counties, in a conundrum because they need attention in both roads and in education. We've got the medical marijuana and...
Let's take it one at a time.
Okay, let's do it.
Gasoline tax increased 10 cents. It might be interesting for everybody to know, according to the Utah Foundation, the amount of money we spend, percentage of our income to the gasoline tax, is the lowest it's ever been since the inception of the gasoline tax in 1929. So our proportion amount of money we're spending into gasoline is the lowest it's ever been on the tax. So we haven't really kept up with inflation and purchasing power on the tax, so it's probably smart to do anyway as good policy if you want to build roads. What we've been doing, though, is robbing the general fund monies to pay for roads that should be going to education. And so what will happen is both issues will be addressed with this gasoline tax. 75% will go into the classroom in schools to help us with education, teacher salaries, those kind of things that will help improve our educational achievement for our students. And 25% will go into roads and road maintenance, which we're deficient on. So it's win-win. It's something we ought to do. So I hope people will vote for question number 1.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about medical marijuana.
Medical marijuana, again, I think most everybody is supportive of any kind of medicine or product which will help alleviate pain and suffering. And hence, medical cannabis has come to the forefront in saying this is maybe an option. The disappointment for many of us is that why has not the federal government been doing the testing, the clinical trials, etc., to get FDA approval, rather than just saying, well, we'll forget the law on the books that prohibits it, and we'll just turn a blind eye as states more and more are starting to say, well, we want to have medical use of marijuana or cannabis to help alleviate pain and suffering. Utah, we've tried to do the right thing in the right way. The public has been understandably frustrated, get something done. We think there's anecdotal stories out here that would give us hope. And so we have, I think, come to a point where no matter what happens with the initiative, whether it passes or fails, we will get back together in a special session and implement the compromise that the proponents and the opponents have come together on. So we will make sure that accessibility in an appropriate way to those who can use medical cannabis for pain and suffering, and yet we won't open the doors towards recreational use of marijuana, and protect the health and safety of the public at large, and particularly our young people.
Excellent. Governor, it's always a pleasure to sit and talk with you, and I'll take you up on your offer to maybe bring some commissioners and come back.
We'll have you at the Gold Room as many times as you want to come, and let's have some additional discussion. I'm a big believer in the counties. They're doing great work out there, our county elected officials. So best wishes to them. We want to be their partner.
Excellent. Well, remember, local government is where your life happens. Be involved, be part of the solution, and we will see you next week on the County Seat.